We got onto the borders of Germany, we got into over the bridges, right? And the officer says, right, we're seeing the end. We are seeing towards the end because the troops are coming into Germany now. Now, we're gonna sort it out. All you single fellas, that's me, plus, are going back to England, right? We thought, oh, that's good, we've been let off the hook, you know. So, when we get back to England, they said, sorry mates, you're going out the Far East. You're going into the Japanese war. But our first stop was India. Totally different to what the continent was. India, we had to train in the jungles of India, right? And we're going to go into Burma to relieve the 14th Army and to relieve the Australians that were already battling out in the Far East. And it wasn't just half a dozen of us, it was thousands of us. We set sail from England in, I think it was 6 troop ships with over 3,000 to 4,000 men on each ship. We're going over to the Far East now, to the Japanese War. So there's something else now to contend with. They'd already done one battle, or one big battle. Now we're on to another one. So what is going to happen? We were told, as the Australians knew, that the Japanese are not going to surrender. So it's the battle of hand-to-hand fighting, you might as well say, as the Australians and Americans knew all about it. We're new to the game of jungle warfare, but we got into it, and we had to get into it. So, but there came a time when on the Burmese border, and we're into Burma, we'd already got into India. Japanese had already taken a part of India. We had to get them out of India to start with, which we done. And after we got out from India into Burma, the Americans dropped the first atom bomb. We're just ready to go in, and still no surrender from the Japanese. So we're pushing on ahead again. By the way, we've travelled more than halfway across India to get to Burma. If you can visualise where we started at Bombay, and you know where Bombay is, and you know where Calcutta is, and you know where the Burmese border is. Well, we had to, they dropped the first atom bomb, and things come to a small bit of halt. Right, stand still, Japs, you know, whatever. No, the Japs weren't going to surrender, so we're pushing on a bit more. The second atom bomb was dropped, and then, for our sakes, the Japanese surrendered. We let out a cheer, but today, people think they shouldn't have dropped the atom bomb. But what do you think? Saved our lives, because we knew what was going to happen. And our next phase after Burma was going to be the invasion of Japan, that was what the generals was all looking at. And they thought, well, there's a lot of men going to be lost there. The second atom bomb put a stop to the Japanese. And that, to us, was a saviour. That's how I look at it. But today's people think they shouldn't have dropped the atom bomb. So there you are, you got it in a nutshell. And then, of course, the war, the European war had already finished. As we come away, as I said, Germany, and they'd overrun Germany, you see, the Americans, the British. We come back to England, trained for the jungle warfare, went out for the jungle warfare, and then this war is coming to an end. So 2 wars had come to an end in my lifetime. And of course, there's more attached to that. I'm not finished, or the army not finished with me. So, from India and the Japanese war, they sent us over to the Middle East. You know what was happening in them days, the Middle East, there was a bit of a turmoil there. And we had to get our way into Iraq and into Palestine. Actually, we went into Transjordan, across. Oh, I'm just trying to think now, I might be getting mixed up. But Jordan, went through Jordan, stayed in Jordan, Transjordan, in Jordan for a little while until we acclimatized from Jordan into Iraq. Stayed there for a while. I was in what they call the Z Reserve. That's why they were shoving me, as well as some other troops, all over the place. They still had us on a string. The army, being in the Z Reserve, you was here, there and everywhere. So we touched down in Iraq, sent from Iraq into Palestine. Iraq at that time, by the way, was peaceful. They had a royal family governing them. And there was one particular fella, a British fella, he was like Lawrence of Arabia. I don't know if it's known much about him, but a fella called Glub Pasha was half and half ruling Iraq. He was like Lawrence of Arabia, as I said. And he would negotiate with the king or the royal family the next move, you see. So, anyway, we got into Palestine. It's another total different again. I don't know whether I should say it or not, but in them days, the Arabs and the Jews was at each other's throats. And what are they today? No different, no, 70 years ago. No different today. And we had to be, to keep them apart. The Arabs didn't like the Jews didn't like the Arabs, which is the same today. But what can we do? We're only a bit of meat in the sandwich between the two. Their governments want us to go, and the other government wants us to stay. And that's how the situation was. I don't know whether I can end it or not, but it's not ended yet. I've crossed the Sinai Desert, I've crossed the Negev Desert, you know, all through the, what we call the Middle East. I've been to Tel Aviv, I've been to Haifa, and I was stationed in Mount Carmel in Palestine. we're staying to the Mount Carmel, right? And we're going down to Tel Aviv. And we're putting a whole string of barbed wire on the beach, right? From our mob, and it's taken in from Tel Aviv. Next mob is going up towards Haifa. And out in the bay, there'll be 4 or 5 huge big ships in the Mediterranean.
Yes.
We're talking about. But we're just patrolling the barbed wire during the day. At night, we got to go back to camp. We go back to camp. We come again next morning. There was huge, big holes as big as this room in the barbed wire. No ships, but barbed wire. And on them ships was what they are called today in coming in and out, asylum seekers, or they'd come from Europe and wasn't settled into Palestine, Israel. It wasn't Israel then, as we know it today. It was all Palestine. But those ships are full of migrants. They'd cut a hole during the night in the barbed wire. All the migrants had landed, which we supposed to have stopped, and the ships was gone. That's the story of part of my life, you might as well say.